Start, a college football podcast for everyone and everyone else. I'm your host, John Buhler, staff writer at fansided.com. I'm joined today by a man who knows how to fly solo like a cup, is not going to fly Soto like a Met, but is starting to learn how to crochet because some dude named Garrett's playing for his team up in Boston. Cody Williams, content director, fansided.com. Your team made a move. I'm happy for you. How are you?
Doing good, man. I'm sad for you because the Braves appear anti-making moves right now. Alex Anthopoulos may not have even gone to Dallas for the winter meetings, but yeah, man, doing good. Vibes are high among Red Sox fandom right now, so good day to be alive. And hey, we got the Heisman ceremony in Army Navy this weekend.
Oh yeah, dude. I was starting to think about this. So yeah, Heisman this weekend. We had some coaching changes involving your team. I think Alex Anthopoulos' visa expired and they won't let him go into Dallas. That's it's not easy being a Greek Canadian, and this is false start.
Particularly in certain states in the United States of America.
Don't mess with Texas, I suppose.
Look, when they say close the border, they didn't say they weren't closing the Canadian border either. They're trying to send them back.
I mean, all that happened was he went to Whataburger and said, "This isn't for me," and they're like, "You need to go home, dude."
That's right. I mean, in fairness, that's a bad take. Whataburger's delicious.
Whataburger's great. Change the game, dude. And kind of want some now, but I'll have some burgers tomorrow. But right now, we're gonna false start a little bit with some first and 15 with some he gone and he coming. It did happen. We have some crazy stuff happening there in the college football coaching world. Your beloved North Carolina Tar Heels have hired 72-year-old Bill Belichick to get younger, which is weird because Mac Brown was 73, but
I mean,
whatever.
theoretically, it's right.
I guess. And then there's a 5-year deal, and then also I think God, what's his name? Michael Lombardi is going to be your GM. So that's
Yeah, no, I'm less thrilled about that. I'll tell you that right now.
is Mick going to be the DC or is it Steven? Probably Steven.
It's probably Steven. I mean, the word that I've heard from people that I trust in like the Carolina sphere, like Carolina reporters, like inside Carolina guys, it seems like this is basically a twofold hire. Like you're hiring Bill Belichick now to like kind of pick up the pieces that Mac Brown kind of left this program in a little bit after things kind of started deteriorating a little bit. You're hiring Bill Belichick for that, but you're also hiring your next head coach. You're also hiring Stephen Belichick because I don't think Bill Belichick goes into the college coaching ranks, particularly at a school like North Carolina, even though he does have some mild history there. I don't think he does that if it's not without like a nepotism promise that Stephen Belichick will be the next head coach after him.
Well, did Belichick have any connection to UNC? I know he was more of a Navy guy because his father was like the head of scouting for the Naval Academy back in the 60s.
In the 50s, he was at Carolina for like 2 or 3 years. There was a picture circulating of like young Bill Belichick at Carolina.
That wasn't fake. Oh my God, that's crazy. What a time to be alive.
Yeah, yeah, it's real things that happen.
I feel like that's something Clark Griswold Jr. was seeing in his attic when I was watching Christmas Vacation. Uh,
Yeah.
that guy had way too much energy, just way too much boomer energy coursing through his veins, and it's unbelievable.
100%.
Uh, also, how much dog food does cousin Eddie need? Also, cousin Eddie might be getting a job here soon because Dan Mullen's tied to UNLV, and also Rich Rodriguez says you can't. Who says you can't come home? He's going back to Morgantown. Like it says, it hasn't left yet. Pete Thamel reported that he's going back to West Virginia, although WVU has not really put out the cool, sweet graphic on Twitter like we expected.
It's not
So
official
that
till you get the graphic.
no, it's nothing's official until you get the Hayes Fawcett graphic, and for recruiting, it's nothing official until the college football team's page says we got our guy.
We got our guy. We got him. But no, like, okay, so I've already talked a bit about Bill Belichick in Carolina, so I won't like exhaust a ton of oxygen there. I don't hate the hire as much as I thought I would the more I've thought about it because we've talked, I mean, it's pretty common phrase in college football talk these days. The college football is becoming more like the NFL. There is like a actual, like you're paying players, you're trying to, it's basically free agency out there in terms of the transfer portal. So like I do think Bill Belichick will have some cachet in there. And I also think that to some degree, you're going to get the right kind of player in the building with Bill Belichick. It's going to be the same type of player that Nick Saban would have attracted because Nick Saban's the greatest college football coach of all time. There's no doubt about that. But he's also a little bit more old school than a lot of the guys we see right now. So, like, if you want to go play for Nick Saban, you're going to play for a dude that you know is going to coach you hard, that you know is going to be on your ass the entire time. Bill Belichick's probably going to be the same. And worked out pretty well for Alabama over these past few years before Saban retired. So like I'm optimistic. I'm not saying they have an Alabama ceiling, but I do think it's going to be beneficial for North Carolina to get that. Moving to the Rich Rod side of things, I that this actually might be one of my favorite hires that we see this cycle because I think Rich Rod, as long like if West Virginia is willing to forgive him, he's proven he's a good coach. And like I think he's at his best when he's at a program like West Virginia, which I think pretty much correlates to what we just saw him do at Jacksonville State. When he's at a program where he has to scheme and maneuver his way through things, I think that's when he's at his best. When you give him the high level talent of a Michigan and you're asking him to basically like be a high level head coach, I think that's when Rich Rod starts to falter. But at West Virginia, I think he can elevate that program back to where West Virginia fans want him to be, especially if he starts bringing guys like Tyler Huff and Trey Stewart from Jacksonville State, their quarterback and running back who were phenomenal and still have eligibility left. Like, I think this is a really big hire for West Virginia.
Okay, I'm trying to unpack everything here as best I can. So I'm gonna go back to West Virginia because it's fresh on my mind. Well, first off, I think when he left, also, did you see this? West Virginia was playing Pitt on September 13th, the first time he's playing Pitt since his last game coaching West Virginia with the Pat McAfee special that cost him a
Yep.
chance to play for national title in '06, '07. I can't honestly remember what year it was. The point is, I think Rich Rod's from West Virginia. He played there under Don Nalen. He replaced Don Nalen. I think at the time they're like the just the curiosity of something else out there
Mhm.
probably got the best of him. I'm sure he probably left with a lot of regret. I think he really liked being in Jacksonville State. I think he kind of found his footing there again after
Oh
stumbling in
yeah.
Michigan and then Arizona with very, very brief success with the Anu Solomons of the world. Yeah, that's a dude to
Yeah, that's
remember.
right. That's it.
Uh,
That's definitely a dude to remember.
but I like that. I think that might actually be my favorite hire of the cycle, just unbiased or whatever. I just feel like West Virginia needs a guy that's not just mayonnaise melting on bread, like white bread, like Neil Brown. They need a firecracker. They need a guy who's going to stir the pot. West Virginia is in a league that's way up for grabs with the power void at the top. We've seen teams like Iowa State take advantage of that. We see Colorado taking advantage of that. We've seen Arizona State take hella advantage of that. West Virginia
Yeah.
is not as hopeless as they were once they first came in, being so geographically isolated. Cincinnati's right there. UCF's in the far worse spot, made a far worse hire in the ginger doofus Scott Frost, for lack of a better word.
Yeah, I mean, like, I truly don't hate the Scott Frost hire. Like, I think that it is risky because, like, the last time Scott Frost was there, this was not a Power Four school. So, like, you're in a different world now. Let's see what you can do. But given the success he had there, and given the vibes, like, I don't know if you saw, but like, he's bringing Mackenzie Milton back to join his coaching staff. It seems like Shaquem Griffin is might be a part of this. So, like, you're getting the band back together. If you're UCF, like there's reason to be excited about it. Whether or not it works, who knows? But like I'm very confident in Rich Rod working at West Virginia, and I think that's
Yeah.
where why it becomes one of my favorite hires.
Well, I think this was like what President Gordon G's like last thing he wants to do before he's out. This is Ren Baker's only second year there, or second or third year there. He's like, okay, we got to make some sort of move to make this possible. But I also just feel like the Big 12 of it all, like West Virginia's had a
Mhm.
decade more experience of failure in that league versus UCF, who's had 2 years of failure. So I think West Virginia's not as geographically isolated, and I feel like this. I feel like it has a better chance of success than UCF, but I could be totally wrong. UCF wants to throw money at things. Fan base is growing rapidly. Alumni base is growing rapidly. Massive school, so I think that has a chance to be successful. Going to North Carolina, I kind of feel Steve Belichick might be better suited for college and everything like that. I think he did a good job on Jed Fish's staff in Washington this
Mhm.
past year. That was a very tough job. They did about as well as we thought they could have done there at UW. Um, I think Bill Belichick's not going to have a hard time recruiting. He just throws his 8 Super Bowl rings on there and his 24-year-old smoke show girlfriend. He's like, "What's up?"
Yeah,
I
I
think
mean, well,
it,
we're talking about his ability to recruit. He recruited her, so I mean, I think we're doing all right, man.
yeah, yes, he did. The only thing that he cannot do is do not bring Josh McDaniels into his USC because
Yeah.
that guy's just cancer in human form.
Yeah, I mean, that's honestly like my biggest fear as he's bringing in people that are close to him. Like Mike Lombardi is a dude who's defended Bill Belichick to the death at this point, and so like not that shocking to see him get this role here. Obviously, Stephen Belichick, is his son, so like there's a connection there. So like I am quite worried that we're gonna see like the worst of the Bill Belichick coaching tree end up in Chapel Hill. Like if Josh McDaniels or Matt Patricia come within 10 feet of this staff, I'm gonna lose my mind.
Joe Judge is fine. Joe Judge would be a great addition to
Yeah,
that staff, I would feel.
100%. No, I don't. I truly don't have a problem with Joe Judge. I don't think Joe Judge should ever be a head coach anywhere again. But like, I do think Joe Judge as a position coach or as an offensive coordinator or whatever you want to put him in, I don't have a problem with that.
He can be a head coach one other place, alma mater. I think if Jeff Lebby fails, he could probably make that
Yeah.
work as like a CEO type at some capacity. But Jeff Lebby's he's trying. We'll talk about that here in a little bit. Dan Mullen to UNLV. So that would be very interesting if that happens. I think UNLV has seen like they've tasted like success with Barry Odom.
hmm
Dan Mullen needs to go to a place that's not going to be a pressure cooker job.
Yeah, and UNLV is that. Like they want the success. They're happy for it, but it's also like I think two things that benefit Dan Mullen. One, it's not a pressure cooker job. Like you don't go to UNLV with the expectation that you're going to win a national championship or anything like that, which when you go to Florida, that's the expectation. Whether that's realistic, I mean it is because Florida's won national championships, but like recently not so much. But I do think that like Florida fans expect a national championship every year. UNLV expects okay, win the Mountain West like once about every 4 years, and you're doing a good job, which I think Dan Mullen is fully capable of. The second thing is with the position that he's taking this program over in, I do think that they're in a spot where UNLV is like in that area, which granted is not the most talent rich area, but they're top dog right now.
Oh yeah.
You look at Nevada, you look at these other schools in the region, like that's not going like UNLV has their pick of the litter, and like that kind of mitigates Mullen's biggest weakness, which is obviously the recruiting trail. So like UNLV at this point can basically recruit itself. Like you just be like, hey, highest ranked kids in Nevada. Do you want to come play football for UNLV? And they come on over. Then you hit the transfer portal, which I don't think Dan Mullen will have a problem doing because I think that's more Dan Mullen's speed than it is than the recruiting trail is.
Outside of Arizona State, all the schools that are of significance in that region, I mean, Boise is different because that's up there in the same pecking order with like Oregon and Washington, but like USC is kind of struggling. UCLA is trying to figure it out. Cal and Stanford are in a new conference. Arizona's got a lot of issues, financially, coaching, whatever. You can recruit outside of not just Bishop Gorman. You can basically kind of go into that tri-state region of Southern California, Arizona, and Nevada, and you can pretty much
Mhm.
you're in that very interesting spot where like you're group of five, but you're in that in between like Boise State, where like you can definitely make the playoff next year, if
Mhm.
for sure. And be interesting to see who he's able to retain. Also, I know that whoever he has at quarterback will improve and will grow because every quarterback who's played for him has been pretty good.
Yeah, and I mean, since he left Florida, have we seen a quarterback develop and improve? No, we haven't. There's been talented dudes that have come through there. Like obviously Anthony Richardson came through there, but he did not leave Florida any better than when he got there.
No, Anthony Richardson's got about as much use for school as Cordell Patterson. This is false start.
100%. Him and Cardell Jones, they didn't come here to play school.
No, sir. So we got all the power fours are filled right now with West Virginia taking Rich Rodriguez, North Carolina getting Bill Belichick. It seems like Dan Mullen's going to go to UNLV. The three other openings at this time are Ohio U, Sam Houston, and now Jacksonville State. We'll see what happens with any of those. Don't really have a strong feeling or leaning towards any of them. They'll probably get filled here before we meet again on Monday. If not, well, maybe we'll see what happens if Ohio State opens up.
Yeah, we'll see how Ryan Day handles the Vols, and that might that might set off a whole other carousel.
I'll finish this segment with this. So there was a report that Brian Hartline got an interview with West Virginia. I wrote about that. It's still doing pretty good traffic. I haven't really posted it on social media because like I feel like I was late to the punch with all of that and everything with our end of the year celebration virtually.
Yeah.
A lot of love, a lot of love, big
A
love,
lot of
big
love, a
love.
lot of love in this room right now.
But yeah, Brian Hardline leaves Ohio State. That it one, it feels inevitable at some point, and two, that's going to be a big problem for that program when that does happen. It's like
100,
that. That's like Stanford losing Mike Bloomgren.
no, 100%. I mean, like, I don't think Brian Hartline is interesting because I don't think he's good as an offensive coordinator. I think we saw
No,
that last year. Like, I don't think his like X's and O's is necessarily where you want it to be. His recruiting's undeniable. His recruiting ability and developmental ability is unquestionable. And so, like, if you can get him in there as a head coach and be a CEO type, get someone who actually does better with the X's and O's, but have him running your recruiting and development strategy, you're going to be able to elevate a program. He's someone that can have a pretty immediate effect on what you're doing.
100%. And even though we're both sitting in office chairs right now, we are still coming to you live from Air Crouch's couch.
Yes, sir.
God, that was the best. That's the best one today.
That's a good one.
So yes, obviously we've got Army Navy this weekend. I don't really care. Salute the troops. God bless.
Army
It's
by a
fine.
billion. That's what I'm going
Yeah,
with.
yeah, whatever. The game does nothing for me, but that's I'm just because I'm an unpatriot. That's. But anyway, like the Heisman Trophy is being handed out there in New York. We've got four finalists. We've got Boise State running back Ashton Jeanty, Colorado cornerback wide receiver extraordinaire Travis Hunter. We've got Miami quarterback Cam Ward and Oregon quarterback Dylan Gabriel. So that's the ballot. I know you probably watched that ahead of Monday Night Football for the Cowboys, not taking care of business versus the Bengals.
Hey, look, man. Every phase they're terrible, and it drives me insane.
So like, I guess let's just get down right to it. What's your ballot? What would your ballot have been if you would have been a Heisman voter?
If I had been a Heisman voter, I would go Travis Hunter one, I would go Ashton Jeanty two, and I would probably go. God, the third is the tough one, and I would probably go. Honestly, I'm going with a dark horse. I would probably go with Bryson Daly. I think Bryson Daly leading Army to an 11-1 season. What I'm predicting is going to be a 12-1 season. Obviously, that doesn't factor into the ballots, but the numbers he put up, he's one of the most productive rushers in the country, but also has a few passing numbers more than we're probably used to seeing from an Army quarterback. Like, I think that when you look at Dylan Gabriel and you look at Cam Ward, I just like Gabriel doesn't have the counting stats for me. I understand he's the quarterback of the best team in the country, and that feels like a shoe-in spot that you're going to get a Heisman finalist spot if you're in that position. But to me, he doesn't have the numbers. He doesn't have the production. He doesn't have the wow factor either. Cam Ward has the wow factor, but at the same time, like you couldn't lead Miami through a weak ACC to get into even the ACC championship game. Like to me, that almost disqualifies you to my point.
I think that's fair. Again, I would be like the worst Heisman voter because like I refuse to comply. That's how I go. One and two are very easy for me. Three, not so much. Number one, I'm giving it to Ashton Jeanty. That's my guy.
Okay. Okay.
Two, Cam Skattebo.
Okay.
And then three, four, I go back and forth between Travis Hunter and Dylan Gabriel, and I don't like either. At this, for me, like I think you got to make the playoff to be a Heisman finalist to get my vote. I think you have to be good enough as a team at this day and age with 12 teams. And as much as Travis Hunter was fun and Colorado was fun, didn't make it. Dylan Gabriel, I would feel much more inclined to put in over Cam Ward or anybody else, but at the same time, the
Yeah.
numbers aren't quite there. Just so I don't get tarred and feathered, I guess I'd probably put Travis Hunter three, but I don't like it.
So here's my anti Ashton Jeanty take, which I want to preface with the fact that obviously I think Ashton Jeanty is phenomenal. Obviously, I think Ashton Jeanty is far and away the best running back in college football, and frankly, one of the best running backs we've seen in some time in college football. I do believe, like in several years. Especially in terms of like putting that together. Like Bijan Robinson might be as talented, but like Bijan didn't have this type of role where he was asked to put a team on his back. But whenever you hear people talk about the Ashton Jeanty case, it's so much about like the history that he's chasing and like trying to, there's still a chance with, especially with three potential playoff games now looming for Boise State, that he could pass Barry Sanders' record. He's already played two more games than Barry Sanders. And I think like we're conflating these records without the context of the fact that what Ashton Jeanty is doing is phenomenal. There's no denying that, but it's also not as historic as it's being painted to be, in my opinion. And I think like for a G5 running back who played in a weak Mountain West conference this year, to me, the fact that that history is like not like I'm as a if I were a Heisman veteran, I would have a hard time not putting the Heisman or the historical context around what he's doing with in relation to Barry Sanders. It doesn't, it's incongruent to me in terms of how his candidacy is being framed.
Yeah, again, you know me well enough. Stats do nothing for me. I don't care.
Yeah.
Like it's that's how you get to the stupid baseball argument. It's like, let's give Andre Dawson a MVP. Let's give Mike Trout MVP, and you're playing for a 60 win team. Like, get that S out of here. Like,
Yeah.
you need to like in the NFL, you need to be a quarterback or running back on a team that has a one or two seed in most instances. You need to do
Hmm.
that, and because I feel like that gives you a reflection of how the season went. It basically says like you are a catalyst for your team winning and winning
Yeah.
big, and again, everybody that's up there with the Heisman, this is a team award. And that's just where I can't get behind like giving it to like they gave it to Paul Horning. He was on a 2-10 team. Like
Yeah.
I'm just done with this. Like maybe I'll never have a vote or anything like that, but like I would reward guys who help their teams make the playoff. I think that at this day and age, that's important to me. But at the same time, like I think anybody could have been running the Oregon offense over Dylan Gabriel.
Yeah, 100%. And like I honestly like I look at some, I don't know, like I look at around the country a lot of the quarterbacks that moved and I'm like, you could have been Dylan Gabriel. Like I do like Cam Ward could have been better than Dylan Gabriel if Oregon
Oh
had
yeah.
recruited him. And so like I look at like some of these quarterbacks and I'm just like, I don't know, man. I feel like there are a lot of people who could have done what Dylan Gabriel has done with the talent that's around him. My case for Travis Hunter, like I'm fully understanding where you're coming from with the playoff and like team success being part of the award, and I'm with you. And I think there is like a limit. Like I'm not going to put someone on a 6-6 team as a Heisman candidate. I'm not going to put someone who like 7-5, that kind of range. Colorado was 9-3. Like they had a respectable season. It wasn't like, they weren't 4-8 like they were a year ago. And I think that my exception to the rule of like when I'm going to value someone above that is when you do something that I think is at least either statistically or just vibes wise transcendent. And I look back at the two guys that I think fit into the same mold as Travis Hunter, even if they don't play the same position. But I look at Lamar Jackson, I look at Jaden Daniels last year,
Yes.
where they were just so transcendently great at what they were doing that it didn't matter that their teams weren't even really sniffing the playoff or they weren't even sniffing a national championship game. Like they were so individually excellent that they transcended all of that. And like in baseball, like you're talking about the baseball MVP, like I think that for the most part, there are a lot of MVPs that I'm like, are we sure about that? They didn't really help their team that much. But there are like some, like I know there was one Trout MVP season where like he was so good that it was undeniable and he just literally had no help. But like that's one case. And that's kind of what I'm talking about with Travis Hunter. This is a one of one case. We don't see, we just, frankly, we haven't ever seen someone who is as good of a wide receiver and as good of a cornerback as he is simultaneously. Like the people who are trying to argue, like I've seen a lot of like Ashton Jeanty Heisman arguers on my timeline. I don't know why. I don't know how I got into this Twitter sphere, but they're like, oh, he's barely top five at either position. I'm like, do you realize how insane that argument against Travis Hunter sounds? The fact that he's in the conversation to be top five at two positions at the same time in the same game, that's individual excellence personified.
Yes, like I'm on the fence with that. I'm not as sold as like I eventually came around on Jay Daniels and Lamar Jackson was just so incredibly obvious. And our
Yeah.
decade like our decade like doing this. So I don't know, like I feel like they've gotten it right a lot of times. I'd even go back to say 2015. They got it right with Derrick Henry over Christian McCaffrey. Like
Yeah.
I will people will be mad about me about that. Like dude ran the ball 40 times in the best conference. Christian McCaffrey couldn't do diddly poo away from the farm.
Yeah, no, I mean, Derrick Henry redefined the word workhorse that season. Like they were just like they they just literally the offense was turn the ball and hand it to Derrick.
Pretty much. So this would be we're looking at probably the first Heisman Trophy winner who's not a quarterback since Devontae Smith. Again, another guy that was very obvious that year it needed to be him.
Yeah, dude. Fonzo that year was ridiculous. He was just wide open 40 yards down the field every single play.
Yeah, that dude was insane. So yeah, our ballots. I think it's going to end up being Travis Hunter who wins it all.
Yeah.
That's fine. He's going to be the number one overall pick by like the Jags or the Browns or probably not maybe the Giants, probably not the Raiders because that's where Shore will go.
I'm hoping he goes to the Patriots, honestly. Him
Yeah,
playing with Drake May, that'd be a hell of a lot of fun for me personally as a Drake May, fan.
that'd be cool too. But let's ask ourselves this one other question. Let's do some do Host or do Host here. I think you know where I'm feeling with this, but do Host or do Host, Cody? Should Arizona State running back Cam Skattebo should he have been a Heisman finalist, possibly over Cam Ward?
Yeah, if my ballot, do Haas 1S, because if my ballot was four players, it'd be Cam Skattebo. Because for all of the I can praise a lot of things about Arizona State. I can praise Jordan Tyson, who's obviously was out for the Big 12 championship game, but he's been a phenomenal receiver. I think getting a little stat nerdy on you, I'm pretty sure he has like a 37% target share in the offense. So like more than a third of the passing targets go to Jordan Tyson. Like you're playing a pretty big role there. Sam Levitt, I think, was a big upgrade at quarterback and has really helped them. But the heart and soul of a team that won the Big 12 and won, what is it, 8 or 9 straight games to get into the college football playoff and win the Big 12 championship, it's been Cam Skattebo, and it's been Cam Skattebo this entire time. And so like for him to do that and for him to add the exclamation point that he did in the Big 12 championship game where he made a good Iowa State team look like it didn't belong on the same field as him. Like he was playing like he was an 18-year-old playing pee wee football basically. Like that's something special, and like I think that at a certain point you have to reward that. You could probably like it wouldn't take much to convince me to put him 3 over Bryson Daly on my ballot, frankly. But I do think like when you have Cam Ward, who, going back to my point about individual excellence, was great, but wasn't that great, and then doesn't have the team success that a Dylan Gabriel does. Dylan Gabriel wasn't individually great, but has the team success. I think Skattebo, who was individually great and did have the team success on top of that, I think he gets the nod over both of them.
He had the best game of anybody on the offensive side of the ball in the conference championship games. I would say Dalen Everett probably had the best game defensively with the 2 picks for Georgia to
Yeah.
kind of get them there. But like, can't it's like Cam Skattebo is playing at Sacramento State. He goes and he plays for a 3-9 team. I'll also say this. If I had to put money on it, which I'm not really a gambling man, the Frank Broyles Award is going to go to either Marcus Arroyo or Tim Banks. That's who
Yeah.
I'm leaning. That's who I could be wrong, but Marcus Arroyo did a hell of a job there with that offense at ASU. And obviously, winning the Boils is not always the best thing. I looked at some of the most recent winners, and it's a little not great. A lot of
Is it
Garrett
not gone
Riley's, a
well?
lot of Garrett Riley's, a lot of Tony Elliott's, a lot of Brent Venables, a lot of Phil Parker. Well, Phil Parker's good, but
Mhm.
like Mike
Mhm.
Loxley. um, but what else? It's got to be Cam Skattebo. This is what you want. This is what you want like college football to be about. You want guys with like redemption stories. You want a guy taking a team that has no business being anywhere in there. It's the same thing like back in 2012. Like Colin Klein was a hell of a player for K-State. He was
Yeah.
probably the most fun player not named Johnny Manziel that year. And I'm glad he was a finalist. So like Cam's got to be probably earned the opportunity to be in New York. Also, who knows what he would have done in New York.
Honestly, it might have been for his own safety that he wasn't on the ballot. Like that might have been all it was.
Yeah, he ends up having a daughter or son named Brooklyn in 9 months, and this is false start. Shout out for Christmases.
That's why I'm dying, dude. I'm sitting there like, shout out Orlando. Oh my God.
Oh man, but I'm glad it's 4 people and not three. I feel every time you
Yeah.
do three, it's a waste of time because you're denying another person opportunity to go and have that experience and to meet people. It's like stats have been a couple of years ago. Yeah, there was a precipitous cutoff between him and Hendon Hooker, and well, that's why Hooker didn't get to go. Also, they're probably going to have to put you in a wheelchair to move you around. This is going to be a logistical nightmare,
I
but
don't
he
know how we're
probably
gonna get you up the stairs.
no. This is the Heisman Club. Like we don't do stairs, man. We still smoke inside.
That's right.
Jacket required. Phil Collins in shambles.
Absolutely in shambles.
So Cam Skattebo, I figured is going to take that energy and run over some people in the Peach Bowl, which me and the Arizona State podcast are going to probably try to go to because that's going to be the
Love it.
longest day of my life.
Hey, dude, it's gonna be long, but it's gonna be a good one. Hopefully the Sun Devils can get it done.
Versus Texas or Clemson. So, well, I'm just
Look,
gonna tell Rosemary we gotta hit some orange.
they're they're gonna be underdogs. I'll assure you of that. They're gonna be underdogs.
I know, gotta get some ASU gear. Gotta learn how to do this a little better. Oh,
That's right.
I thought I almost broke my headphone jack. That would have been really bad for the
That
program.
would have been tough.
Like
Forks up, little
it
too
would.
aggressive.
When you're flying below the bees, on the wave like the Kenny D and uh Antonio Banderas. I've got Arizona thoughts. I'll leave that. I want to marry this. I want to marry this girl, so I'm gonna be nice about
Okay,
Arizona.
good call. Good call.
All right, and good call here. We're gonna move on to our next topic here. We're gonna do some. I believe it's there's some talk portal to me. Is that what we got down here?
Yes, sir. We're talking portal, baby.
All right. Yes. Pressing the wrong tabs here. I don't. I keep pressing Google. I want to touch Slack. There we go. All right.
We're good. We're thriving.
All right. Talk portal to me. As of this morning, Thursday, December 12th, we've had three quarterbacks of note commit to Power Four schools. We got Tulane quarterback Darian Mensah is going to Duke, replacing Bleak Murphy, who's still in the portal. We've got former Boston College quarterback Thomas Castellanos going to FSU, reuniting with his former college coach Gus Malzahn, who he briefly played for at UCF. And the idea of Conner Weigman is going to Houston, going to get some of that Tillman Fertitta money, and hopefully I don't even know if he's going to win the starting job at U of H.
Hey, but I respect bringing in some competition if you're Willie Fritz. Like, if you're Willie Fritz at Houston, this is the type of swing you need to make, you have to make because like I I don't I don't like Conner Weigman in terms of like what I've seen from him on the football field at this point. At the same time, I'm not like the biggest fan of Colin Klein's offense and what we've seen from Texas A&M's offense in general. So I do wonder if you get him in a different situation if like that's exactly what Conner Weigman needs to succeed because let's be honest, like his run at Texas A&M was anything but smooth. He had Jimbo Fisher at the end of his rope. He then had a good coaching staff coming in, but an offense with Colin Klein that frankly just doesn't really fit what Conner Weigman was billed as being good at. So like you get him in a different situation, you get a change of scenery, but also one that's not like you're staying in the state of Texas. Like I think it could be beneficial for him. And I like he may not win the starting job. Zion Chris did play well at the end of last year, but I do think it's worthwhile if you're Houston to take this kind of swing. It's kind of like an upgraded version last year of Boise taking Malachi Nelson. Like Malachi Nelson obviously didn't win the starting job at Boise State. It was Maddox Matson that beat him out. But if you're Boise State and you're Houston, you bring in the talented kid, the former Ballyhooed recruit, and you see if the change of scenery is exactly what this kid needs.
Oh, for sure. So I'm looking across like some of the guys who've committed and stuff, quarterback wise, within the top 50 in addition to this. So yeah, Conner Weigman to Houston, Darren Mensah to Duke. Um, Devin Dampier leaves New Mexico going to Utah.
Yeah.
That was a little surprised that he was going to go to Utah State, turn heel. He must have really hated that school's survival.
Maybe this is a sign that Cam Blacksmoke is finally foregoing his NFL money or NFL, not NFL, NIL money. Excuse me. He's definitely not going to the NFL at this point, but his NIL money, and he's actually going to get a job. He's going to get that resume together.
I know that's I don't know what his resume is going to look like, but it's probably going to be as interesting as Jacob Zeno leaving UAB, going to Texas A&M. Looking down further here, Zach Pyron, the quarterback at Georgia Tech, going to Minnesota. So that's going to be interesting as well. I think other names of note. So we got Malik Murphy in the portal out of Duke, Fernando Mendoza out of Cal. Who else did I put down on the sheet that was good? Oh, Michael Van Buren Jr. out of Mississippi State. And then Luke Kroneman Hook out of FSU, which is the top guy in the portal, which I don't understand.
Yeah, I mean, former five-star, I don't fully understand it either, though, because what we saw from him this year at FSU was not particularly pretty. Feels like that might be a little bit of a fool's gold there. Did you mention Jackson Arnold also still in the portal?
Jackson Arnold's still in the portal. I believe Ashton Daniels is still in the portal
Yeah.
too. Garrett Nussmeier is returning to LSU, which thwarts probably the best potential landing spot for Michael Van Buren Jr.
Yeah, no, but as a guy who likes Garrett Nussmeier and thinks there's a bright future ahead of Garrett Nussmeier, it's a big win for Brian Kelly, but I also think it's a really good choice for Garrett Nussmeier because if Nussmeier were to go to the NFL draft this season, he would probably be a first round pick. I would probably have him as QB3 behind Cam Ward and Shador Sanders. But at the same time, like I think there's a chance that you're a developmental day one pick. Like you're not a surefire thing, and that might, that depend when you get into that realm, you can talk yourself into Jalen Milroe because the potential might be higher for a Jalen Milroe. So you chance depressing your draft stock there. Now you project to the 2026 NFL draft class, and I'm of the belief that Arch Manning is going to be the starter at Texas for 2 years. I think that's been the plan all along. So I don't think he's going to be entering the draft after one season as a starter. I think he knows how not beneficial that would be. So you're looking at a draft class where it's probably going to be Garrett Nussmeier and Drew Aller as your top two quarterbacks. Now, say what you will, that might not be the strongest quarterback class, but if you're Garrett Nussmeier, there's always going to be quarterback needy teams, and you're setting yourself up better to be the guy in a draft class as opposed to one of the guys.
I think that also sets up the chance that Jalen Milroe, Carson Beck, and Quinn Ewers come back for one more year.
If Quinn Ewers comes back, it's not going to be at Texas. I'm putting my foot down and making that prediction right now. I think that Quinn Ewers, if he returns to college, which I think he should, is playing college football somewhere other than the Texas Longhorns.
Beck comes back, it'll be at Georgia, but then again, we'll see what's going on with the UCL. Again, Georgia's keeping this really close to the vest. Why would they give any intel unless they absolutely had
No,
to?
absolutely not. No, you don't say a damn word until you have to. Like that UCL could be like ribs falling off the bone right now, and if I'm Kirby Smart, I'm not saying a damn word about it.
And if I'm Milroe, I come back for one more year. I think you do that, you win the Heisman pretty much.
I think so too. I'm dubious that it happens though. Like I think it's the best choice for Milroe. I'm not convinced that we see that.
I mean, I think the talent's too obvious. I feel that like he's going to be a guy like what's a team picking like mid first round, somewhere like 8 to 16 that could use him.
I mean, like
Um,
honestly, I think about the Seahawks. I think the
yeah,
Seahawks are the type of team that would like they've been like sniffing around Geno Smith's succession plans for some time, and like the upside of Milroe when you still have Geno on the books, like I think that's something that you could bring him in the building. I think Geno would be a good guy for Jalen Milroe to learn from as well. So like I think that's a really interesting landing spot if you're talking like middle of the draft right there.
yeah, I think that's a good spot. I think the Rams would be good.
Yeah.
49ers if Brock Purdy's cooked.
Yeah. Which,
Um,
he might have always been cooked. Who knows?
I was always cooked in the portal. So let's look at the guys who kind of got here on the board that are still looking for a team here. With Murphy, Arnold, Mendoza, and Van Buren. Let's start with Murphy. I think he's a fantastic player. I'm shocked he left Duke. Where's the best spot for him? Where do you think he's going to end up?
That's a really good question. I don't have the best answer. In my ideal world, I don't know if it's going to happen. I think he would make a lot of sense for Hugh Freeze and Auburn. Like, I just think he is a really natural fit from like in terms of the style of play and like the tools that we've seen Hugh Freeze maximize in the past. Like, honestly, you know who Malik Murphy weirdly reminds me of in terms of his style of play as a quarterback is Chad Kelly. And like
Yeah,
we saw Ole Miss have a lot of success with Chad Kelly as their quarterback. And like I could see Hugh Freeze really replicating that, especially with the talent that he's gonna have around him in Auburn.
I like that too. I think that's a potential play there as well. I also said I think Ohio State would be a pretty good landing spot for him too. I feel
I
like
don't hate
that's
it. Yeah.
I feel like if they go in a different direction there, I'm kind of in that vein. Obviously, Georgia is a candidate for all these guys that we're going to mention
Yeah.
because Jackson Arnold, I think it's going to either be Georgia, probably Mississippi State.
So I was convinced it was also going to be Mississippi State. I saw a clip come up yesterday. Matt Zenitz of 24/7 Sports was on Danny and Dusty's radio show, and he made a lunch bet with Dusty Dvorak about that he would basically bet lunch with Dusty that he would not end up at Mississippi State. And Matt Zantz is a dude who is locked into the portal as they come. So the fact that he's saying that maybe it is Georgia. I don't know where it is, but it seems like there's a chance that Mississippi State could, well, one of two things. Either they could get outbid, which I think is very feasible if a big player like a Georgia or someone else wants to come after him, because Mississippi State, frankly, does not have the financial backing that these other high-end Power Four programs are going to have. But the other factor is you look at what went wrong for Jackson Arnold in Oklahoma beyond the Brent Venables like not being able to run a culture at all, apparently. But I also think that you look at it, it was a bad offensive line that got Jackson Arnold killed and didn't really give him time to develop as a passer and become the player that he wanted to. That's not going to be any different at Mississippi State, man. Like you're going to be running into the same problems, and all that's going to be different is you have an offensive coordinator that you might like more.
Yeah, I think you think about that. Ashton Daniels had been tied to Auburn pretty good there too. Again,
Hmm.
played at Buford, local product, essentially at Auburn's extended backyard there. I get that. Again, Jackson Arnold grew up in Atlanta, lived here for 10 years, and moved to Texas. So I could see him essentially replacing his friend and mentor, Carson Beck. That's a
Yeah,
potential possibility too. Fernando Mendoza, I've got the perfect spot for him. And I think
where's
we
he
might be
going?
able to, Miami, dude, that's where he's from.
Yeah, I think it makes a lot of sense. Like Cam
He's
Ward's going to the NFL. You don't have a succession plan, and I mean, frankly, Fernando Mendoza can play, man. Like I think we underrated him when we talked about Cal for much of the season. Like we talked about Jaden Zach Ott, but the rushing game really didn't work that well for Cal this year. Their offensive line wasn't that good, and Mendoza. I'm not going to say he has the upside of Cam Ward because I don't think that's necessarily true, but I think they're similar styles of players. And if you keep recruiting at Miami the way you have been and keep hitting the transfer portal to get the skill position players in the offensive line right, like that's a dude that can make some noise.
Okay, he's a guy that, like, at his worst, he's going to be Tyler Van Dyke's best or Brad Hayek's best. Like, he's going to be that
Yeah.
type of player. Derek King's
Brad
best.
Kaya, talk about remembering some dudes.
Yeah, dude. It's like Brad Kayak, whatever. I barely said his last name right. The point is, he was good there for Rick for like a year. But yeah, Fernando Mendoza, I think he could also potentially be in play at UCF with Scott
Mm.
Frost too.
And I think that would also make a lot of sense because you talk about Mackenzie Milton coming in to be the quarterbacks coach at UCF. Like that's a dude who Fernando Mendoza could learn a lot from and be a really dangerous player.
I mean, he could be a player at Oregon. He could be a player at Georgia. I feel Fernando Mendoza is just going to work anywhere.
Yeah, I mean he's one size fits all. There's no doubt.
If you have him go to a Big Ten school, Fernando.
Fernando.
That dude's good. That dude's already a legend, man. And then Michael Van Buren Jr. Again,
That's who I had circled for UCF because I think like the exact same things I said about Mendoza. I think that fits more what when UCF was humming. I think Michael Van Buren showed promise of the player that succeeded at UCF and had UCF really humming at that point. And so like I think like you add a young player into the system if you're like I believe he still has 3 years of eligibility left. So like he's got a bright future ahead of him. You can bring him in there and really give your program some stability as you return if you're Scott Frost.
for sure. I think UCF's going to be a player in all this. One team I keep going back to that I think could be very interesting. All this, I think Vanderbilt could get a guy.
So there was before before he committed to Utah, there was some Devin Dampier to Vanderbilt buzz, which I really liked, and I thought that would have been a really nice Diego Pavia succession plan. But I do think Vandy's going to be a player. Also, I think we need to consider North Carolina a player with Bill Belichick because they don't have a real like Max Johnson's returning. Let me tell you, if any other quarterback wants to come to Chapel Hill, you can upgrade from Max Johnson because he's not good.
Yes.
So like,
Uh,
and he's coming off a broken leg. So like, I don't think he's going to get any better coming off a broken leg.
Connor Hill's in the portal too, so
Hmm.
that's good as well. Really depends on who the OC is for
Mhm.
UNC. Is there a chance Jed Fish comes over?
I mean, I wouldn't hate it. I doubt it, but I wouldn't hate it.
No. Oh, you know who replaces Diego Pavia? The short king, Noah Fifita. Let's go.
Oh, that'd be kind of sick. I'm kind of here for it. I like it.
Matthew Sluka to Vanderbilt would be pretty cool too. That's another
Yeah.
guy. They're going to get somebody, and they're going to be a
Oh yeah.
bowl caliber team next year, and they're going to be better than Auburn.
No, I mean, they'll beat Auburn. That's what beating Auburn. It's the ghost of Diego Pavia. Like, honestly, if you're Vanderbilt, just bring Diego Pavia back as like a GA, and just so you can like say Diego Pavia got another win over Hugh Freeze.
Dude, like Diego Pavia is coaching. Diego Pavia is Power Four head coach. Where is he coaching? And what team is he leading in 10 years?
I mean, I feel like he's gonna bring the New Mexico State Aggies back to prominence, man. Where else is it gonna go?
Dude, I could see him like replacing like Willie Fritz, just be the Houston head coach. Just
I mean, he does give off strong, like, not top tier Texas program vibes. Like, if he were at like Texas Tech, him like that would be. I think him and Lubbock would be really electric. I think that honestly, you even look at the G5, like Diego Pavia at UTSA, that has some legs to it. I could see that meet behind Diego Pavia, like Texas, like the definitely Southwest vibes for sure going on.
Put him in Columbia, South Carolina. Let's do it.
Oh my God.
Uh, Diego Pave just works everywhere, man. It's
It's true.
great.
You can put him wherever you want.
Put him on the Titans, man. Have him walk on and lead them to a playoff victory.
That's right. Oh
We
my
don't
God.
do. Can I walk on? This is the NFL. Can I walk on, please?
Can I, can I walk on?
And I think that's exactly what happened with this next guy here, Francis Xavier Bethpoggi. He tried to walk on to Michigan staff. So, my
He
God, this is going to be
did.
unbelievable. So, we got through the portal pretty good. We're making some pretty good time on today's episode, all things considered,
Mhm.
probably because we're not talking about the playoff a lot.
Yeah, we're not talking about 12 teams individually this time around.
But we are going to be rolling up our sleeves with the bronzed meat sleeves here of this is as high as we can go because we have sweatshirts. But
I'm
we're going to be
stuck.
handing. I'm stuck here. I can't roll down my sleeves. They're stuck behind my beefy shoulders. So at the end of like every semester in summer school, we're going to hand out the Francis Xavier Biff Poggi Memorial Bronzed Meat Sleeves. These are we give out 15 awards to like the players, teams, coaches that deserve recognition, and we'll also give out a lifetime achievement award this year with we're gonna induct a guy into our the Hall of Fame of Homer Hickam
Yep.
High School. So
Yeah, it's a big honor right outside of the mines.
it's outside the mines. We actually when we pull coal out there, it's chiseled out of coal, and we put it in the entrance of the mines, and it's like the guys that are seeing you coming out there, the Ike Brovlowski tunnel. It's like the walk at like the Grove, the Walk of Champions, the Walk of Ike.
The walk of Ike, man. It's legendary. Even more so than Clemson rubbing the rock and running down the hill.
All right, yes, which also we mined.
Yeah, that's a little known fact about Death Valley.
That's not actually a rock from Death Valley. It's just a piece of coal. No Christmas for you, Clemson, but we're going to alternate. Cody, you start. You start with the first award we have today.
Yes, that of course is the Keithian Bear Alexander Talk Porter to Me Award, performed by Poison's Brett Michaels, and that of course goes to TJ Finley, not Bear Alexander. We are, indoctrinating him into the name of this award, but TJ Finley gets this award. He is transferring from Western Kentucky, looking for his fifth program. Going on the Cam Black Smoke Rising eligibility plan that we have here in college football these days. TJ, I hope you find a place that makes you happy because obviously you've struggled to this point.
So let me get this straight. So he started out at LSU, then he went to Auburn, then he went to Texas State, am I correct?
Yes.
And then he went to WKU.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh my.
I have
I
no
mean,
idea.
he's running out of letters in his name for teams he's been on. Man likes to man's a learned doctor.
He's basically Doctor Who, man. Like just portaling everywhere.
He's like those kids in college that like you get out of the dorms and you're living somewhere new every year, and your parents like, God, I have to move you again.
Yeah, the one who thinks their roommates are the problem, but they're actually the problem.
Yeah, you just can't throw money at everything and solve everyone's problems.
That's right.
But apparently you can because we are living in a simulation. Yes, our second award goes to the JJ Redick We Are Living in a Simulation Award. This is named after him when he had the JJ Redick podcast. Back when he was playing for the Clippers. Now he's the Lakers head coach. I think he's doing okay, I guess.
Eh.
Maybe not.
I mean, LeBron just stepped away from the team. I don't know. Lakers seem like they might be in shambles.
Hawks are good. I saw that. I know
Hornets are
that.
not, as always.
Yeah, as it turns out, DeJounte Trey Young was not the problem. Dyson Daniels has been a massive upgrade. Zachary Sachet has been great. Quinn Snyder is coaching pretty good. We're paying attention here, but yes, the JJ Redick We Are Living in a Simulation Award goes to Oklahoma State head coach Mike Gundy for getting headbutted by one of his cattles, having to do a Zoom call instead of his press conference because he had a blooded up eye. Won his first three games, lost his last nine, all in conference play. You're doing great, sweetie.
Yeah, you're crushing it this year, brother. When we were putting this award show together and filling out the ballots, it occurred to me that we have been framing this as got headbutted by a cattle. How sure are we that it's not the other way around? How sure are we that Mike Gundy wasn't trying to hype up a cattle and just gave him a headbutt and like that's actually what happened?
I mean, we gotta ask Gator. Gator just speaks it up. Morse code. Blink your eyes once for yes, two for no. The problem is he's a turtle. It takes a long time. It's like a minute per blink. It's like that creepy drummer girl in a Scott Pilgrim who blinks once the
100%.
entire movie. Also, Scott Pilgrim is kind of a dick. I mean,
Yeah, I mean, like, let's be clear. Like, there's a lot of people of our generation that watched Scott Pilgrim versus the World or read the comics or whatever and took the wrong message away from it because Scott Pilgrim, the human being, sucks.
yeah, the packaging with Michael Cera not getting a haircut, so you think it's okay.
Yeah, 100%. Michael Cera, the most lovable man on the earth. Speaking of the lack of love, though, the Noel and Liam Gallagher definitely maybe award. Definitely maybe might be good. Shouts to Oasis always. We decided to go right outside of the playoff for this one with the South Carolina Gamecocks, and I think that's pretty apropos. This South Carolina team, I was banging the drum that they should have been in the playoff, but the main takeaway is they were way better than we thought this South Carolina team was going to be coming into the season. Like the fact that they were in that playoff conversation was an overachievement, but I don't think a unsustainable overachievement. You have a young quarterback in Lenoris Sellers who is going to, if you can keep paying up, going to be in this program for a long time. We're really high on Shane Beamer and like him being the right guy for this job. So yeah, shouts to South Carolina, man. This is a hell of a season, and I think the arrow is distinctly pointing up.
That's also a guy he might actually be the Heisman favorite now that I'm thinking about it for next
Hmm.
year.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wrote an article about him with transfer portal destinations. Maybe I was an idiot, but I'm trying to get out ahead of this. Also, they signed his brother, so that's going to help keep him
That's a
in
good
the
sign.
quality.
Yeah.
That's a good sign that we were getting high on South Carolina here. Back-to-back years with SEC teams because it was Missouri last year.
Yeah, I'm hoping they don't follow the same path as Missouri did this year, where they just let us down immensely every time they touch the football field.
And speaking of people that let us down, and not every time they touch the football field, they're in the penalty box. We are heading out a brand new award year with I can't say his name, no, John Andrzejczyk, the John Andrzejczyk group of five for fighting Superman penalty box. That's going to Bryson Daly and the Army Black Knights. First year back in a conference since we both could read, and looked pretty good there. Won the American. Still got to play this weekend. Not going to be in the playoff. You're going to be playing in a bowl game of sorts. Probably only going to lose one game this year. Shout out to the
Yeah.
Black Knights and Jeff Monken doing the absolute most at the Service Academy. Army's fun, man.
Army's fun. Bryson Daly's a hell of a lot of fun. Like just eye test wise, might be the best passer that Army's ever had in like my lifetime. Like he actually is functional throwing the football. They still don't use it. They just ask him to bang his head against the defensive line 100 times. But hey, it's still fun to watch. And I'm at the point now with Jeff Monken. I'm just wondering when he's going to get another head coaching job because it feels like I don't know if he can like I don't know if a big program would want to bring the triple. I don't know if Jeff Monken's married to the triple, but I do think that Jeff Monken's done enough at Army consistently that he should start getting more serious consideration for these jobs.
I'll tell you what, that job might open up. What if his cousin Todd gets an NFL job and he brings him in as associate? Just a double
I
dose
mean,
of Monken and Monken.
that'd be sick. I'm here for it. That's the type of stuff I want.
Todd, Jeff Monken, the OC for the Jaguars, and Trevor Lawrence, like, you want me to run?
I've had like two concussions in the past 3 years. I don't want to run. Trevor, huck it and run, brother.
You can't. I've seen you throw. It's not really that good.
Yeah, when he throws, you know what they tell him? Or you know what he tells them? I'm trying, Jennifer. Because this is the CJ McCollum. I'm trying, Jennifer award. And, a little backhanded, but we're going to give it to our boy Jeff Levy down in Starkville, Mississippi, the Mississippi State Bulldogs. We identified this about like midway through the season. Man, that team was playing hard. That team was giving their effort, and they were giving every SEC team that they faced their best shot. Unfortunately, their best shot's not good enough, but like they were giving their best shot. And like I think that coming into the season, we looked at this and it was like, we don't think Jeff Levy's a bad coach, but we just think that this might be a really untenable situation. It still might be. We know that like Mississippi State as a program is a bit hamstrung comparatively in the SEC, but the fact that he got immediate buy-in from this roster and what they looked like, if he can add some more talent and find ways to upgrade that talent, I think Mississippi State is going to at least be a team that is maybe what Vanderbilt was this year, like causing some causing some ruckuses throughout the league, but also like getting into a bowl game. And like I think that's a win for Mississippi State based on where you're currently at.
I think they'll hit the portal hard. I think that like they're going to potentially poach some guys from Oklahoma. I think that would be a huge step for them. But yeah, they definitely tried very hard for Jeff Levy. Also, Jeff Levy looks like he's in the best shape of his life. So
Heck
you're
yeah.
you're you're trying, dude. We appreciate that. And I'm gonna hand out the next award, the Brett Your Mark You Missed Your Mark WWE belt. That's going to go to Gus Malzahn, leaving UCF to go be the offensive coordinator at FSU. Let's go, boys. Put on the belt, boys.
Put on the back. God, I honestly, we could have given this to Florida State because I still don't understand the hire, dude. What the hell are they doing hiring Gus Malzahn?
Gus Malzahn's the type of guy who tucks his t-shirt into his jeans.
Oh, 100%. And it's a plain tee. Like it's a plain tee. He doesn't wear a graphic tee.
I believe his full name is Arthur Gustav Malzahn III.
Dude, that's the most tucked in name I've ever heard in my entire life.
I mean, like, what else is Gus short for? Augustus, August, like, or Gustav. It's one of those three.
Gustolomew, yes.
Gustav. Angus, Gus. That's a name. That's a dog name at a purpose.
It's for sure a dog name. That's absolutely right. Come here, boy. Come here, boy. I think that's what he's actually been trying to say this entire time. Um,
I was not ready for that. The dog
so
whisperer, Gus Malzahn.
hey, we got the Ghost Whisperer in the SEC. Now we got the Dog Whisperer in the ACC.
Oh my god.
Gus Caesar Milan Malzahn.
¿Por qué no, pero? Oh, we were making such good time, but holy yes, okay.
So we're moving on to the Fred Durst
Bowling, bowling.
Award. And that, of course, goes to the Nebraska I thought I said Cornhuskers. The Cornhuskers. We're off the rails. The Nebraska Cornhuskers. You know what, man? You're in the postseason. Congratulations, boys. I'm proud of you guys.
Yeah, people in Lincoln and Omaha and whatever other the third biggest city in Nebraska is. I don't know what that is.
I can't name a third city in Nebraska.
I believe when a Memorial Stadium is filled to the brim, it's the third largest city in Nebraska.
I mean, probably. I like we know geography is not my strong suit. We've discussed this many times on the podcast before. And when we start getting into the states of like Iowa, Nebraska, Kansas, I can name the big cities for sure. But once you start talking about like smaller cities and towns in the state, I got no shot. I got nothing for you.
If I had to ask Cody to name two of the four quad cities and where that is, no.
No idea.
No. Uh, Davenport, Iowa, and Mullen, Illinois, and Rock Island. Okay, that's kind of what that is. But neither here nor there. There's probably more people that can fill up that Husker Stadium than are in the western third of Nebraska where they're in mountain time.
Yeah, 100%.
But congratulations. I think people that live in those cities, like they can get which would be really great. They can get bowl tickets for Christmas and go to a game.
Yeah, and I mean, I will say like I'm still not giving up on Nebraska's future. Like I understand that this year in like the way it ended was disappointing. Like you struggled to get that 6 win to get bowl eligible. Didn't like, kind of limp to the finish line. But I do think like I think we may have underestimated like the learning curve for a freshman quarterback, even one as talented as Dylan Raiola. But Nebraska is still recruiting at a pretty decent level for Nebraska, given the challenges that they face there. They have obvious investment. I still trust Matt Rule's ability to develop talent and stuff like that. And I think he was put into a very tough spot in terms of what he had to do to develop that talent. So Dylan Raiola seems like he's staying. He posted on Instagram, all in, go Big Red. So like if they keep him around, I still think that this Nebraska program is still I don't think this is the best. I think the best is still yet to come under Matt Rule.
It's under Ernie McCracken, Dana Holgerson, OC.
Yeah, 100%. Which I mean, anywhere Dana goes, I will follow.
And he's bowling, 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 bowling.
That's right.
Go to your neck of the woods with the Brad Doherty. We do more than shoot hoops and turn left award. The most ACC thing ever. Fran Brown, Syracuse Orange, just coming in there wreaking havoc. Get Kyle McCord, fun team. You beat Miami, you lose to Stanford. You beat UNLV, you get absolutely destroyed by Pitt. Just the most like chaotic team out there. Also, Fran Brown, a guy that wasn't really on anybody's radar to be a head coach, cornerbacks coach for Georgia. Looks like a really strong branch there from Kirby Smart. Has SU turning up. More importantly, SU's fun again because it's not some Jim Boeheim Stockholm syndrome. This is a good
No,
team.
100%. I mean, it honestly reminds me of like the early Dino Babers teams. Like, if you remember that, like, those teams were fun as hell, man. Like, Dino had like a real energy to him, and Fran Brown hasn't even, like, I think individually more fun energy than that. Like, the fact that he's basically taunting Ryan Day at any chance he can get, thanking him for giving him Kyle McCord. The fact that he's upsetting Miami and going up on the podium and being like, I expect some more, thank you cards from Dabo Sweeney to like for getting them into the ACC championship game. Like Fran Brown's feeling himself, and he has every reason to be with the Syracuse team.
Are your forearms cold? Because mine are pretty cold, but I'm gonna keep doing this because I'm bit pushy.
That's right. I already pulled my sleeves down. I couldn't take it. It's absolutely frigid out here. But what'll warm me up is some Old English. So we're going with the Old English Pour One Out award, and that is for the New Mexico Lobos, a team that I mistakenly said might have been bowling, 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 and then ended up not going bowling, bowling, bowling. Now they've lost Devin Dampier. It's not going well in Albuquerque.
You lose Bronco Mendenhall, you lose
Yep.
Devin Dampier. You were fighting for that last bowl spot in because it was like 82 spots. They would have been 83 teams. Last team playing on rivalry weekend, they lose in Hawaii to a
Yeah,
team that's
like you had
already
to
out
go
of
to
it.
Hawaii to not get bowl eligible. Like that's tough.
It was their bowl game all along, going to the Clarence T. Ching complex.
That's right.
That's a good one. But I got to go with another good one, or not a good one. We're remembering a terrible person with the Harvey Updike It Don't Mean Enough award. The most SEC thing this year is definitely got to be SEC players like Ryan Williams, Carson Beck, and Quinn Ewers really getting into Snapchat. Initially, it was going to be Ryan Williams for the Kill Everybody Eye Black with the inside of us. There's two wolves. Let's just say that they don't really know that like Snapchat goes away in 24 hours, but that's enough time to do what you need to do.
Do what you need to do, get a screenshot. Yeah, it's been an adventurous year on Snapchat for some of the SEC's biggest names. Let's just say the hormones are raging in the SEC, and it shows on the Snapchat.
You know, I don't know if you have to take the I don't know if someone's going to take a shirt off or anything like that, but we got to take some extra gloves off here for your hands are freezing for this next one, right?
100%. That's because the Harry Dunn and Lloyd Christmas I'm an idiot award. And I've had this extra pair of gloves the whole time. And that's Cam Blacksmoke Rising and Dave Dorn. Cam Blacksmoke for you, Dave Dorn for me. We were as idiotic as we could possibly be about these two things. You go ahead and unpack your Cam Blacksmoke.
I had Utah going 12 and 0 this season. I had them getting the 4 seed. I had Cam Black Smoke Rising being a Heisman finalist, being number 3 behind Dylan Gabriel and Carson Beck. And he played 3 games and now he's got a LinkedIn profile.
Yeah. He's off his parents' health insurance. It's been a tough year for Cam. And I obviously on my version of that, I had NC State going 11 and 1, 10 and 2, upsetting everyone in the ACC, representing the ACC in the college football playoff, having a bye in the first round of the college football playoff. I was all in on NC State. Team sucks. Defense is terrible. Grayson McCall, he's broken beyond repair, quite literally. Just not a good time to be investing, especially as a North Carolina fan. I think that's what hurts me the most about it is I went out on a limb for a team and a program that I, in my heart, in my soul, do not like, that I actively dislike. And I was like, they're going to be great this year, and that was not even close.
I mean, you went all in on a top 4 program you dislike. It's like
Yeah.
it's Clemson, Duke, NC State, and UVA are the 3 or 4. You're just like,
Yep.
no.
Yep. And I hitched my wagon to one of them, and I see where it got me. Never again.
Never again. And never again are we not going to name this award after next one after Jim Harbaugh with the Jim Harbaugh Big Ten Energy Award. Not as easy of a pick this year. Initially want to go with Kurt Signetti, chilling in his Adidas team gear after getting that big contract, but then the most big thing happened. Big Ten thing happened. Well, I'm sorry, my words here. I'm having a stroke. Michigan beat Ohio State for the 4th year in a row in a game where Ohio State couldn't score 2 offensive touchdowns.
Incredible stuff. I mean, like, that is the epitome of the Big Ten. Like, Ohio State running through everyone except for Oregon in the Big Ten schedule, and then getting up to Michigan, a Michigan team they are like hands down better than. Like, I don't think there's any debate about that. And Sharon Moore was like, okay, that's fine. And he got him into a rock fight. And if there's one thing Michigan can win this season, it's a rock fight. And so they got the bigger rock out.
Dude, they got the rocks. I think a rock's a big part of your next one here too, man.
100%. That's because it's our boy, fellow actor, fellow blow up doll. Not sure if he's a real person. The Antonio Banderas Bowl of the Week of the Year, and that is of course Houston at Kansas at Arrowhead. Because what the hell are we doing in our lives with the Big 12, man? This is just a wild turn of events that we've seen happen in the Big 12, where Kansas is renovating their stadium, so they're playing like half their home games at Arrowhead Stadium, the other half at a soccer field.
That's true. I completely forgot about that. And that was kind of when Kansas made the turn to be kind of competitive and be a
hmm
giant slayer there in the Big 12. So we took Antonio there to we took him to Potter Lake, forgot the game was there. He took his rock chalk out, scribbled Wingardium Leviosa's, trying to remember how to spell it and say it. Didn't help.
It
Nothing
just
Glove
said
did.
bulldog. I don't know. I don't like.
It's like the scribblings in the Grimoire from Wicked. It doesn't make any sense.
It's the drawings of a madman.
Oh my gosh, yeah. But I think that was the right game we picked for Antonio. It was like
Oh,
we can't keep
100%.
we can't keep doing Iowa every year.
No. I was much like Barry Alexander is just a doctor or grandfathered in.
For sure. Speaking of grandfathered in, the Paul Finch Sat coming out hitting out the penultimate award before we have a bonus award. Last year we didn't give one out. This was more of an idea we came up with during spring break. Posthumously, I'm going to hand it last year's award to the 2023 Texas Tech Red Raiders. They would have been the recipient of that.
Yeah,
So much offseason hype.
100%.
It's getting microwaved in the David microwave oven.
Yeah, I mean they were microwaving the tortillas, which as a, New Mexico resident, I can tell you is a big no-no.
I mean, as an Atlanta resident, you have to. But if it's flour, if it's corn, don't do it if it's corn.
Don't do it. I mean, my one of my hot takes and one of the things that my New Mexico brethren do not agree with me on, corn tortillas are disgusting, dude. I hate corn tortillas.
They're the inferior tortillas, and just like Virginia Tech is the inferior ACC team. We gassed them up so much. They were the team that you and I both thought had a chance of getting to like winning 10 games, getting to Charlotte, and they were 6-6. They needed to win a Commonwealth to get in. Kyron Drones was about as effective as a drone, just is
Yeah,
out there doing things.
not an army
Uh,
drone, like a drone that you're just flying around amateurly taking pictures.
so as Brent Pry puts on his satin kimono, he cries into the sleeves, wondering where Janine is and why she's not coming back.
Why is she not coming back? 18 years, man. Um, and as you slip on the kimono, you got to get into the slide. This is the Jim Leahy Slot Award. Dude, who else is it gonna be? The live dog, Diego
Yeah.
Pavia. Might be next year the Jim Leahy Diego Pavia slot award, honestly, after this, because no one embodies the slot quite like this kid, man. Like, we loved him at New Mexico State, taking pisses on the middle of a practice field, but also upsetting Auburn and just like having New Mexico State thriving. Comes to Vanderbilt. We're thinking it's going to be your typical Vanderbilt season, not with the live dog in the house, brother. They were bowl eligible by basically like the beginning of November. Like they were ready to rock. Gave a lot of good team scares, even if they didn't pull off the upset. Upset Alabama. I mean, hell of a year for Diego.
Beat Hugh Freeze for the third year in a row.
Yeah.
Vanderbilt is effing turned.
Vanderbilt is effing turd.
There
I
is no
want to
other
thank
person
God Vanderbilt's effing turd.
having bringing a New Mexico tailgate to Nashville.
Incredible, man.
We were somewhere near the Parthenon when the drugs kicked in.
That's right.
Unbelievable. Just the ultimate dude to remember, man.
Dude, 100%. Like, I might need to buy a Diego Pavia jersey. I think that's where I'm at in my life.
I know, just whatever team he goes to, you're getting it.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I think a Diego Pavia Vandy jersey, I think might be in my near future.
Yeah, that would be something to ask for under the tree.
Yeah, 100%. I'll write my letter to Santa after this.
And we're going to add a Lifetime Achievement Award, first of its kind. We are going to be inducting somebody into the Homer Hickam High School Hall of Fame. We're going to be giving Arizona State running back Cam Skattebo the charred and coal-dusted Kolviak presented by Steve-O. Yeah, dude.
Presented by Steve. Cracks me up.
There was Cam Skattebo. We kept hearing about him down in the mines, and he was the big. I think he was Coach Lawrence's favorite player. Just nobody
Mhm.
talked about living in the mines and running in the mines quite like Cam Skattebo. Um, wasn't this good playing for the Rockets? Had some fumbling issues, and he liked to throw the ball away too, and he was going to get tackled. We'll talk about that here in a second.
He loved it, man. It's we've seen it pop up every now and then.
And Kenny D is also an alum there too. And so is his coach, who coached Skattebo at Sac State, and that would be Paul Giamatti's friend, colleague, and compadre from Big Fat Liar, Frankie Muniz. Yeah, he went to Homer Hickam too.
Yeah, NASCAR driver extraordinaire, Frankie Muniz.
Yeah, he was a breaker boy.
That's right. We would always talk to Frankie and we'd be like, "Hey, buddy, what do you want to run on this play?" And he'd say, "I want to go fast." And I was like, "All right, Ricky Bobby, settle down."
The London Humphreys, dude, he was the fastest receiver we had, fastest kid alive.
Fastest kid alive.
Now that we've got all this, we've handed out the bronze meat sleeves. We're going to be going bowling, 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 bowling with Antonio this year. So anytime there's a bowl game going on of note, we're going to be going there with Antonio, and each game is going to be defined by a Limp Bizkit song, or the idea of the title of a Limp Bizkit song. Because we did My Morning Jacket last year for one big holiday. We'll figure out the next band for next year. So December 14th on Saturday, we are going to Montgomery, Alabama for the Cramton Bowl between the South Alabama Jaguars and the Western Michigan Broncos. So before we get into that, we got to talk about what happened there in Arlington. So
Hmm.
we talked about this. Obviously, Kenny D is really tight with Antonio.
Hmm. They're boys.
He allowed Kenny, so Kenny D is like, what can I do to keep Antonio engaged and not create a scene? I'm like, just pretend he's a coordinator. Just like, just tell,
Yeah.
like, give him a headset and have him have one-way communication with Marcus, and Marcus Roy was not having it. He basically took the headset off so he didn't have to hear him anyway. But
That's right. He's just talking into the microphone and not listening to anything.
Antonio's got a headset on, like he's working at Arby's.
That's right.
And there was one play in the book in his coloring book, and I think you can probably explain what it was, and it involves Scooby Doo.
Yeah, he said, the play shocking no one called Bulldog, and he said we're gonna run Bulldog, and Kenny D said, "What does that entail?" And he just said Bulldog, and then he said, "No, who gets the ball?" And he said Scooby Doo. Kenny didn't understand what that meant. It happened to be the play where they pitched it out to Cam Skattebo, gave him the pass option, which my favorite thing about Cam Skattebo is just vibes wise, if you give him the pass option, he's taking the pass option. Like he's for sure gonna huck that thing. And so, Skattebo realized there wasn't a running lane. He cuts it back. Reggie Bushes a little bit back in the backfield, and then just heaves a prayer up into the middle of nowhere, and no one came down with it. Thankfully, it wasn't a defensive player that came out with it, but I thought Marcus Arroyo was about to like deflate Antonio because he was so angry at that play.
100%. Antonio has like a sixth grade education, but like his team's Arizona State. He's
Oh yeah.
that's where he feels the most comfortable, being in Phoenix. And I don't we're not letting him come to the Peach Bowl, but he might still end up there. We'll probably talk about that. But
I mean, he shows up even when you don't know. Like before we put him back in the closet, like you never know where he's going to turn up.
he can teleport. He can run like a dog. He can do
Yeah, it's
anything.
terrifying in some ways.
So everything worked out pretty well for him there at Arlington. I think the biggest thing was the trophy belt. He thought he was the trophy.
Yeah.
Uh, so he did present the WWE belt to Brett Yormark, and then stood off on the side, and that was why Kenny D was not like smiling as much because he was trying to like not laugh the whole time because Antonio wore a speedo or a thong with Kenny D's face right here.
Oh yeah, 100%. And he was, gyrating a little bit behind Brett Yormark, and Kenny was just trying to hold it together, which I fully understand.
But yes, he had a great time there, and the only thing I don't know why he wanted to go to Montgomery for this bowling to start because I don't think he wants to go to the troops. I think he feels like he did something that was very offensive.
I mean,
Uh,
in fairness, this is also the Salute to Veterans Bowl, so like we really couldn't escape the troops this weekend.
and the Limp Bizkit song that's attached to this is "Take a Look Around," which is the MI2 soundtrack. Do 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 do.
No, no, no.
This might be my favorite Limp Bizkit song.
It's up there. It's a good one.
And as it is with any sort of thing, Antonio is going to be dressing like Wes Borland at every one of these games. So,
Mhm.
what exactly is he wearing to the Crampton Bowl in Montgomery, Alabama, Cody?
So I want you to imagine the grunge version of the Cowboy and the Village People. And that's what we got going on in here because it's Montgomery, Alabama. There were some more inappropriate costumes that were discussed that I had to talk Antonio down off of. But yes, he is going to be dressed in some basically like if you had a cowboy living in 1990s Seattle. That's what Antonio's vibe is going to be in this one.
So he looks like Smokey, aka Randy Bobandy, looking for cheeseburgers.
Yes, exactly.
What a visual. I asked Antonio, like, do you know what Crampton is? And he's like, Bulldog poo,
Bulldog poo indeed. Yeah.
which it turns out is a guy's name who the stadium is named after in Montgomery. And yeah, the Bulls named after him.
I mean, look, there's not a whole lot to choose from when it comes to Montgomery, unless you want to get into some real problematic naming rights. Let's be honest about it.
I know. I mean, the Alabama State Hornets play there or played there, so maybe you could call it like the Hornets Nest Bowl or something like
That'd be
that.
cool. I'm down for that. Just the Hornet's Nest. Let's just like, they call the New Mexico basketball arena the Pit. Let's just go with the Hornet's Nest.
That'd be perfect too. I mean, that's why they're called the Charlotte Hornets. It's a bunch of crazy people from the Revolutionary War. And Cornwallis is like, what the hell is that?
I ain't never seen nothing like that before.
I gotta think it's wild that Charlotte like dates back to like the Revolutionary times. I thought it was like Atlanta and Birmingham haven't been around that long.
Yeah, let me just get on like a 15-second soapbox. Cincinnati, you're not the Queen City. It's Charlotte, North Carolina. It was named after the Queen. It was named like it's dates back to the Revolutionary War. Charlotte's the Queen City in the United States of America. I'm done.
If you want to be cool with Cincinnati, just be the first American city, which is probably what you are, the most American of American cities, which I
Thank
think
you.
that's
Yes,
cool. Or you could be the house that Procter and Gamble and Kroger built.
that's right. Yes, exactly.
Yeah, Charlotte's the Queen City. Atlanta's the Empire State of the South.
That's
They have
right.
Miami is the club. Dale.
New Mexico's the land of enchantment.
That's pretty dope, dude.
I mean, love it. We're here for it.
So we got to pick a game here between the South Alabama Jaguars and the Western Michigan Broncos. Yeah, I think it could really go either way. You've got two relatively new head coaches. Obviously, Major Applewhite took over for Kane
Mhm.
Womack this year, and Lance Taylor, I believe, is in year two at Western Michigan. I think I'm going to go with South. I'm going to go with South. I feel that like just I feel like they're closer. You only have to go from Mobile
Mhm.
to Montgomery. It's just gonna be another day. Whereas I think Western Michigan's like, God, I wish we could go somewhere warmer. Whereas it's gonna be
Yeah.
like 45 degrees there in Montgomery, Alabama.
No, 100%. Yeah, I'm also going with South Al. Frankly, I think this Western Michigan defense is pretty bad. And that what you mentioned, home like a little bit of a home field advantage for the Jaguars in this one. And also, like, I understand that Gio Lopez, South Alabama star quarterback, might not play in this game, got a little banged up in the regular season finale. Even if he doesn't, I still trust Major Applewhite in this offense to be able to attack a defense that I don't think is that good.
For sure. I mean, Lance Taylor sounds like a guy who will sell you some Major Applewhite paint at Home Depot.
100%, Sherwin Williams rep right there.
Cover the world in paint.
He's making hella commission on like your like seafoam greens out there.
It is the shade of seafoam green. This was episode 124 of Fall Start. You can follow me, John Buhler, on Twitter or the X at Buhler118. You can follow Cody Williams at the Sizzle20. You can follow the show at CFB Fall Start. Like, rate, listen, subscribe, review on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, anywhere there's podcasts. Oh my God, here it
Oh,
oh, coming to yeah. 5-star reviews on Apple's, please. Really helps the show a lot. Show's really starting to grow. Shout out to our colleague Alicia Deratola Castillo saying incredibly nice things at the end of the year call about Fall Start in front of the boss man Zach Best. I think that's really huge for us and being able to really grow the show in the way that it deserves. That was huge for us. Cannot put enough. The show's been so much fun, dude.
dude, it's a blast. We'll have Alicia on the program as soon as we figure out the video editing details behind going three wides. Because if you haven't noticed, we haven't done it for a reason because we don't know how.
No, midway through the season, when we had to do Soul Like a Cup stuff, we're like, okay, yeah, this is messing up everything. So Cody had to handle. Cody's more the guy with like the visual stuff with Canva and everything like that. I do it occasionally. I'm kind of more of the audio and planning and stuff and everything like
Yeah.
that. It's division of labor, but we will have three wide. We'll probably even do four verts or four corners.
For, depends on if it's an ACC centric episode. If we do four corners,
ACC in New Mexico. I mean, that's you, man. Four quarters.
that's right.
But yeah, we got no 3 yards in a cloud of punt this week. We're not going to do anything after Army Navy. We're going to enjoy our life.
We're
We're gonna
gonna
have
take a little holiday break from the 4 shows a week.
yeah, 4 shows a week. Now it's going to be two. So looking at kind of our upcoming schedule here heading into the holidays, we will do Monday and Thursday next week as expected. We will doing 3 yards in a cloud of punt after Tennessee, Ohio State in the first round. The following week, that'll be Christmas week. Monday the 23rd, that'll be a Christmas themed episode. We're looking at doing a regular episode day after Christmas. Maybe we'll make it a Jalen with pinfolds.
Hell yes.
And then obviously we've got some stuff figured out with playoff and everything like that. But won't be doing a recap episode after every playoff game, but when it makes sense, we'll do it.
Yeah, like after basically after every round of the playoffs, we'll be coming to you with some sort of episode very soon after.
I know, man. We've made it, dude. I can't believe that like we're on the other side of it pretty much.
Yeah, man, it's we're about to get into the off season, but Bowl Mania is upon us. We're gonna be bowling, bowling, bowling.
And I don't know if Bill Belichick's ever heard of Limp Bizkit before, but maybe he's heard of False Start.